Amid escalating airstrikes and mounting despair, Gaza's humanitarian lifeline teeters on the brink of total collapse. With Israeli military actions intensifying, accusations of weaponized aid deepen the crisis, leaving hunger and suffering to spiral out of control. Recent reports reveal a dire shortage of food, medicine, and essential supplies. As global powers remain gridlocked, innocent lives hang in the balance. Gaza stands at the precipice of an unprecedented catastrophe. Welcome to our special coverage on Gaza. Hello and welcome. The Washington Times has reported that Gaza faces an unprecedented humanitarian catastrophe as Israel's blockade drives thousands of children into acute malnutrition. Over 2 million Palestinians rely on dwindling aid kitchens, with most eating just one meal a day amid skyrocketing prices and critical water shortages. Escalating airstrikes have killed civilians, including children, and crippled relief operations, leaving only 100 of 173 treatment sites functional. Aid groups warn of a total collapse, accusing Israel of weaponizing hunger and survival essentials. In March alone, over 3,600 children were admitted for malnutrition, a 70% drop in treated cases since February. The UN calls this the worst crisis since the war began, with Gaza teetering on irreversible devastation. As global powers remain silent, millions endure unimaginable suffering. And joining us now to talk this through from Jericho is Dr. Abdul Nasser Mekki. Thank you very much for being here with us. Dr. Mekki is a political science professor. Thanks for being here with us. So, with Israel intensifying its blockade, why are the international community unable to prevent the failure of Gaza's humanitarian system?
Yes, I think from our point of view, I think that even the international community and also the institution from the United Nations, by this way, they are participated in this catastrophe because they are not interfere, they are not even provide or supply the people in Gaza with assistance. They are not pressure on the in the Israel government in order to allow for the assistance to enter Gaza. This is miserable, and I think even the credibility of the United Nations now it's weak because also all the institution of the United Nations. Now, I think if this thing happen in another place, I think all of these institutions will interfere. But in Gaza, I think the United Nations and their institutions are afraid, or they are not participating or interfere because they are afraid from the United States of America and from Israel government. This is their, that's the way they should interfere strongly here. They should provide the assistance to the people. There is starvation, there is genocide. Why until now they are not participated, or they are not interfere, or not supplying the people, or even pressure on the United States of America or the United Nations itself? We have the Security Council. Why the Security Council, like China, Russia, Britain, and also France, they are not, even they are talking about the humanity, that's the law of the human life. So I think So I think they should here they should participate in pressure. They should.
Yeah, I can hear you, Dr. Mackey.
Yes, okay. I will continue. Yeah, I will continue in this. So in this way, I think there is a problem in the that's the credibility of the United Nations and institution. Why? This is the question that the Palestinian is asking. Why in other places the United Nations is there? Why in Gaza they are not even the Israeli the Israeli didn't allow them to come to Gaza in order to supply for them and supporting all the assistance, medical, food, water. We are talking about miserable and catastrophic, as you mentioned in your report. And there is just 1 million meal every day from the international kitchen. And also this is a problem because you are talking about 2,200,000 people. They are living in Gaza, in all Gaza, in north, middle, and also the south. The Israeli is not allowing to the United Nations, especially institutions like Oxfam, like the Doctor Without Border and OCHA, all of them, they are not allowed, the Israel not allow them. Just there are 6 requests from the United Nations institution to the Israeli government that that's to enter the medical or the humanitarian assistance, but the Israeli just accepted 2 and they refused the 4. So we are talking about problem inside Gaza. I am afraid that the starvation in Gaza started. I am afraid that if the United Nations institution, international community is not interfere, there will be starvation, and we will see thousands of children will die because of the lack of the food and the milk and all the assistance, that's material to especially to the children and the women.
Well, we know that no aid has gone into Gaza since March 2nd. I mentioned earlier that at least 3,600 children have been treated for malnutrition in March alone. So with thousands of children facing this acute malnutrition, does the fact that the outside world has been relatively silent, does this embolden Israel to weaponize hunger and starvation as a collective punishment?
Yes, I think this is one kind and type of the punishment. The Israelis punish the people in Gaza, the civilian. The Israeli is try to release the detainees with any way, by bombing Gaza, by the airstrike, by the that's tanks, killing the people. They are just bombing and attacking. That's the places where the people going there, because the Israeli want them to not stay in some places. So the Israeli is using all the tools in order to reach to the detainees. And I think the Israeli, by this way, they are killing the people, they are killing the civilian and the innocent people, but also in that way they will kill the detainees, because the detainees now they are in places maybe in Gaza, nobody knows where they are. But I think according to some of the detainees who was on the TV before 2-3 days, one of them, he said that he was with the Jihad Islamic. He said that he is hearing the bombing and from Israeli, and he is afraid that he will be killed by the Israeli airstrike, not by the Hamas, because Hamas is afraid on his life. They try to keep on his life. This is what they said before, or some of the detainees. So the Israeli using all these tools to punish the people, which they think, the Israeli government, that the people will make rebellion and they will protest against Hamas, which not happened. And the catastrophic is continue. The miserable condition is increasing. The people every day, the children, they are dying because of the lack of the food and the milk, especially for the young and that's new, that's children. and also the women, because they need, in order to feed their child, they need a meal, they need food. And also there is a problem and even the food itself, because and there are many of the materials which needed to the, especially for the women and the children, they are not there. They are missing in Gaza. And all the world is watching this genocide without doing anything.
And Dr. Mackey, are there Palestinian divisions or internal rifts that Israel are seeking to exploit at this time?
What you mean by explode?
Well, exploiting different divisions in order to make things worse.
Uh-huh. Yes, I think the Palestinian in West Bank. I am living in Jericho. It's that's between Jordan and between the territory, Palestinian territory also, and Israel. So I think yes, the people in West Bank, they are just uh, not believing what Netanyahu, and also even for the principle of the state, because of the Israeli action in the ground, they Israeli they now as they did many events on the ground, they by bypass road, by settlements, by even in the north part of Jerusalem on West Bank, like the refugee camp to Karim Jenin. They kick the people out. They force displacement of the people there, about 40,000 people. So I think, yeah, the people now is expecting that this government, especially the extreme government, they will now focusing on the West Bank for the settlements and also even in Jerusalem. This is what the people in West Bank think, that there is a problem and Israel is not like before. So there will be many changes even inside the West Bank. Even the people couldn't go here and here because we have about 900, that checkpoints. So the worst thing is coming, and this is what we are thinking.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here on Qnews. Political Science Professor Dr. Abdul Nasser Makki. Thank you very much for being here with us. Now, according to Ahram Online, Egypt reaffirms steadfast support for the Palestinian cause amid Israel's devastating war on Gaza. Israel's disproportionate military actions threatening regional stability. Cairo views Israel's forced displacement plans and ethnic cleansing as red lines. Egypt condemns Israel's genocidal campaign, which has killed thousands and decimated Gaza's infrastructure. Palestinian division weakened their stance, allowing Israel to exploit rifts. Despite false accusations, Egypt eradicated smuggling tunnels and remains committed to peace if Israel fulfills international obligations. For lasting peace, Egypt demands an end to the war, full Israeli withdrawal, and a two-state solution. A Gaza reconstruction plan, and renewed negotiations are vital. Egypt rejects US brokered schemes undermining Palestinian rights, vowing to uphold Arab dignity and justice. Now, our next guest on the program is joining us from Cairo and is a writer and political analyst, Ibrahim El-Darawi. Thank you very much for being here with us. Now, is Israel's weaponization of food and aid in Gaza a war crime?
I think for the first time in the history of wars in the world, Israel is using in its dire war on Gaza the starvation weapon and the collective starvation that Israel is practicing with the US blessing. Unfortunately, this starvation taking place in the Gaza Strip, if we look at the general operations starting with starvation and then military strike to evacuate the tunnels and using the starvation against all Palestinians. They cannot only cut the supplies from Hamas alone, but they stop the supplies and for all citizens in Gaza. And for 2 months now, no humanitarian aid truck, whether fuel, food, or water, pharmaceuticals and medicines, and from outside the Gaza Strip into Gaza, whether from Israel or Cairo, has entered. And I think what is happening now is systematic starvation carried out by Israel to force Hamas to give up to the Israeli demands. And I think it's evident to everyone, and that the international community, unfortunately, standing helpless, and they have a problem that they perceive Israel with a different eye. And with this starvation, we see the U.S. ambassador visiting Israel. It's a real crisis, and this the U.S. blessing to Israel to carry out the systematic starvation against the Palestinian population. The international law and the ICC must intervene. Also, the wise in the international community must intervene against the war crimes committed by Israel. These war crimes against humanity, especially in the starvation issue. It is a war crime, a genocide crime, and using the starvation as a weapon has never been used before in wars. For the first time in the history of wars in this world, the Israeli are using starvation as a weapon to force the other party to give up. It is a real crisis, a true humanitarian crisis that will be a stigma on the international community, and the history will never forgive the international community for standing helpless against such crime. What is being done also by the United States of America, supporting Israel politically, logistically, and with weapons, and also standing silent regarding what Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip. It is the largest portion of support presented by the United States to Israel in such timing. I think that there is another weapon that is the Arab diplomacy, and particularly the Egyptian diplomacy, and what President Sisi is doing regarding the current starvation. And the main goal is to provide a sustainable humanitarian aid access without any limits or hindrances from Israel. The international community as well is pressuring in this regard the international institutions and organizations working in the field of food and relief and distributing food supplies are being targeted by the IDF so that they do not complete their works inside the Gaza Strip. They are threatening the relief staff and personnel. They are being directly targeted. The personnel and civilians they're all being targeted, and all those working on food kitchens. And we see people on the streets distributing pieces of bread on women and children. The world is watching the Gaza Strip with these tragic images, and I think they are standing helpless and not confronting Israel regarding what they are doing in Gaza. And there must be an international trend to enter the humanitarian aid. When Cairo receives a senior official from the European Union, they go directly to the Egyptian Rafah city to see the standing humanitarian aid trucks lined before the Rafah crossing, and also in the city of Arish. All of these matters are evident and are present in international media. Nevertheless, Israel is still using starvation, which has never been used even by Hitler. He didn't use it against the Jews, or so the Israeli crimes being committed now were not committed by Hitler. The systematic general scheme being carried out in Gaza, and now we see it in southern Gaza. It is basically based on demolishing houses by airplanes, bombing, and then starvation, then the ground offensive by the troops, so that there is no resistance on the Palestinian occupied lands, especially Gaza.
So with famine spreading across Gaza and with all that you were just saying there, are there measures that Arab countries could take to try to break this deadlock on humanitarian corridors and aid getting into Gaza?
I think in addition to the Egyptian role and the Egyptian efforts exerted by President Sisi in his visits outside of Cairo, he is seeking to propose the Egyptian vision regarding what is happening in Gaza. Let's be clear, the Egyptian proposal is the prime idea here, and it has been the Egyptian stance since the 7th of October till now, which is providing a sustainable humanitarian aid access, finishing the exchange deal with the supervision of the mediators, and also that Cairo wants to provide the humanitarian aid unhindered, which is essential for Cairo, and then the reconstruction according to the Egyptian plan offered to the mediators in Israel and United States of America. We're talking about 3 to 5 years. Cairo will be able to reconstruct the Gaza Strip without evacuating the Palestinian population or relocating them outside of their land.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed. That's the writer and political analyst, Mr. Ibrahim El-Darawi. Thank you very much for joining us here on Q News. Now, as Gaza teeters on the brink of catastrophe, the world watches in silence while lives hang in the balance. For peace and justice to prevail, action must replace apathy. That brings us to the end of our special coverage on Gaza today. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.